Joining us here tonight is Byron Pitts, and it wasn't lost on either one of us here that overnight these were peaceful protests. Police officers weren't in riot gear as we've seen in other cities across this country. They were here in normal clothing, and they've actually made great strides, progress, this police department here.
David, last night you saw protesters and police officers taking pictures together. But tonight, the grief here is palpable. Lives changed and lives taken. Last night, 5 police officers in the city went to work, but never made it home.
No justice!
Before everything went so wrong, Shatamia Taylor was thrilled to have her 4 sons along at the protest march. She had brought them to create a memory. She had no idea how unforgettable this night would end up once the shooting started.
They all began to run, scattered, and she said as she started to run, she caught a bullet in the back of her right leg. She immediately jumped on top of one of her boys, the 15-year-old. She jumped on top to cover him on the ground as she pushed him in between 2 cars and the curb.
Her sister Teresa says Shatamia had laid there for 5 minutes not realizing she was shot and not knowing where the other 3 boys went as she sheltered her son with her body.
He was just scared. He didn't say much. When we walked into the hospital, he just grabbed our necks and hugged us. He's covered in his mom's blood.
The family was reunited at the hospital, thankful the boys were okay, and Shatamia wasn't much worse.
That's our youngest sister, and the only thing we can do is feel relief when we walk in and see it was just her leg.
In fact, though she would require surgery, Shatamia was far more concerned with the fate of the police officers.
We're watching the news in the hospital room, and all she can do is say, Lord, be with those families of those police officers. And that's what she kept repeating.
That haunting video image of a deranged killer will not soon be forgotten. A total of 5 officers murdered, a motorcade taking bodies from the hospital to funeral homes. They were Senior Corporal Lauren Ayers, had been on the Dallas Police Force for 14 years, 55-year-old Sergeant Michael Smith, a father of 2 young girls, and a one-time Army Ranger. 32-year-old Officer Patrick Zamarripa, husband and father of an infant daughter. He had survived 3 tours in Iraq. 40-year-old Officer Michael Kroll, a native of Michigan. He had been on the Dallas force since 2007. And 43-year-old Transit Officer Brent Thompson, who had just gotten married 2 weeks ago. And it said on his LinkedIn profile, "I'm constantly looking for different ways to serve the department."
This is a family member of someone who has been shot tonight, I'm told. Let's listen
7
in.
others were injured, among them 39-year-old Transit Officer Misty McBride, mother of 10-year-old Hunter.
Just happy that she was okay, that she can live on to tomorrow, and that I'm just glad that she's alive, really. I said that I love you and that I'm glad you're here.
McBride's father, Richard, was equally relieved.
Shot in the arm and it broke her shoulder, and she was shot in the abdomen and it went in one side and just out the other side. She's fine, but they said, there's a lot of people a lot worse off than her.
All of the survivors are expected to make a full recovery. And Davey, that is encouraging news in a night where there's so little in the city.
We need the good news, Byron. Thank you. You've talked to the families here. You talked to all of them, the families of the officers, and they'll tell you that they know every day they fear that phone call could come during their loved one's shift. And one of those families that got the call lost a son, a brother, a young father last night, devoted to his baby girl. Tonight, right here, the family of Patrick Zamarripa. He wanted to be a police officer since he was a little boy, and his mother and his sister talked to me just a short time ago. Valerie and Laura, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, our thoughts and prayers are with you tonight after the loss of Patrick, your beloved brother and your son. And Valerie, I know that your son wanted to be a police officer ever since he was a little boy. Tell us about it.
Yes, ever since he was a little boy, he talked about becoming a police officer, and that was his dream, and he fulfilled his dream.
Laura, do you remember your brother playing around the house, pretending and hoping one day to be that officer?
He got his jump start as being a military police in the Navy.
You were the one who helped suggest to him that perhaps he should join the military, and he became quite accomplished in Special Forces for the Navy.
Yeah, he didn't have a plan, so I came home and I said, well, let's go to MEPS. Get you enlisted, you can be a military police, and that'll put you in the right direction. And sure enough, he ended up loving it.
And Laura, do you remember when he came home and had decided to become a police officer back here at home in Texas?
Yes, I do. He was motivated, he was pumped, he was ready to go. And he got here and he did exactly what he was going to say he was going to do. He had the support of all of us, and we backed him. We were so proud of him.
I know that he often thought about his own children. They were his pride and joy, his stepson and his little girl. And I read that he said when she arrived, "Daddy's got your back, my new reason for life." How is Lincoln doing, and are you all thinking about her tonight?
Oh yes, most definitely. She's on our mind and in our prayers. She's with her mother somewhere else right now, and how come they not be in our thoughts and prayers? And I just don't know how she's gonna be looking for him and not see him anymore.
She loves him. She loves her dad very much.
Yes, she does, and she looks just like him.
I heard as a father he was very much involved, often carrying his gear in one arm and the diaper bag in the other.
That was for sure all the time. When he would be getting ready to go to work, if he didn't have a sitter, he would call me and say, "Mom, I got to drop off Lincoln."
What would you say to the country tonight about all of the police officers who put their lives on the line every day, like your brother did and your son did last night here in Dallas?
To just be safe. Rely on your partners. Be safe. Support each other.
What do you hope to carry on for him in the eyes of his little girl that he loves so much?
I'm not going to be able to do that on my own. I need support from my mom and my dad and my other brother. That way she can know who her father was later when she grows up.
Well, Laura, you have that support of your family right there in Fort Worth, I know, and the entire extended community here in Dallas. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we're thinking about Patrick tonight as well. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Our thanks to Laura and to Valerie tonight, and of course we're thinking about Patrick and all of those officers who were lost, Elizabeth. And as you heard from them right there, they're counting on their extended family and this entire community to really help raise that little girl.